Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of Endurance Chat. I'm Michael Salavari, and we're talking today about the upcoming 24 hours of Spa Francorchamps, the third of the big endurance 24-hour races of the year. And joining me today, I have Kris Washer. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going somewhat okay. We're in lockdown, but that's fine because we have motor racing to watch. And also, who the hell is this guy?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Who
are you? Hey, it's good to be back.
It's been how long, Kiwi?
It's been good, 6-7 months, I think?
Yeah, blimey. Welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back in my new apartment, high over the suburb of Brunswick.
Oh my word, it has been so long. So if you've missed us in the meantime, so in the last 6 months, Kiwi has moved house and then moved house again and is also now in lockdown.
Woo!
Great times down under. Before we crack into it, I just want to say thanks to our sponsor, TheRacingLine.App, now on Android. And Kiwi, why didn't you give us a few more details about that?
Okay, so we all know that motorsport events starting across multiple time zones can be harder to follow than a Thomas Bach opening ceremony speech. So the Racing Line app makes this a breeze. Find out when all your favourite series and Formula One sessions are due to begin, with a slick interface and reminders to make sure you're more awake than Flood and I are currently.
Oof.
It's well worth your small investment. Download the Racing Line app from the App Store or Google Play today.
Yeah, we should put out more content. Anyway, Kiwi, seeing as you've been away for so long, you've had plenty of time to come up with a plan for this one.
Yes, I have.
So why don't you take the reins?
Okay, give me here. I'll just settle up. Here we go.
Oh,
All
boy.
right.
Oh, boy. Saddling up.
Yep. So Spa. We know it. We love it. It's obviously we know it's a track steeped in history. And this race, the 24 Hours of Spa, is a race that has had a massive history from production cars to all the way up to now, the GT3s. And we're expecting 58 cars this year to race around the 7Ks. And it's one of the best racetracks in the world, without question. Do you think you guys would agree with that?
It's certainly up there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's a racetrack, I think, where everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to race. Like this week, we have British GT coming as well.
Yeah, we have British GT, GT4 European Series. Maybe not the European Series. French GT, which is basically GT4s. Then you have the open wheelers with British Formula 3 and Formula Regional European Championships, or maybe one more series on there that I'm forgetting. But yeah, it's all part of SRO Speed Week. It's sort of a hype.
Yeah.
Before the Spa 24.
Hi. Because I was reading today, even CEO of McLaren is going to have a run here, Zach Brown.
Whoa, wait, what? He's going to be driving?
Yeah. Not in this race, but in the GT4
Oh,
races.
my word.
So that's the sort of caliber. If you're into motorsport, you want to race here. You going to say, Michael?
Oh, no, that is absolutely true. It is one of the, pillars of motorsport history that exists around the world.
So, brief rundown of the history. We know... Those of us in history know that this place started. It's basically a route between three towns: La Source, Stavelot, and Malmedy.
Wow, you butchered those names completely.
I'm not French or Belgian. So yeah, it was a 15k layout. They basically connected those three towns. Then throughout time, people have gone, this is quite an unsafe circuit. So they made it a 14k track, which was faster. And then realised, actually, this is probably inconvenient and unsafe. And the master kink is, holy crap, this is bad. So they decided, okay, we'll build this 7-kilometre rolling track through Melbourne Hills.
Wow. We're off to a great start, lads.
Through the hills of Belgium. And that's left us with a 7-kilometre track and love today. Gents, what makes Spa so amazing?
I'll let Kris take the floor with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that even the most littlest events at Spa, it's just so entertaining. Like International GT Open, I believe, raced here a couple weekends ago, and it was just awesome. And the support races were awesome. They had Renault Clios, I think, Caterhams, Alpines, The track can make anything look good, and the fact that we're having an interesting event added next year, I think, the FIM Endurance World Championship, the bike counterpart to the WEC, is having a 12-hour, 24-hour race here at Spa. So
Wow.
anything can race here, depending on your opinion, safety-wise, on if they should or not. But anything can go here at Spa. It's one of kind of like almost like one of the last frontier tracks in Europe, where has an old school feel.
Absolutely. Wow, bikes at Eau Rouge just sound terrifying. Yeah, I'm going to echo what Kris said. It's steeped in history, and despite all the changes that they've made to bring it down into a more manageable, modern type circuit, it still has corners with cojones. It's still got corners that terrify you, and each corner here has its story, and it's been around long enough that it's got enough sort of history. Each one of these, corners are iconic in their own right, and as Kris said, it makes any race here an absolute joy to watch, because you never know what's going to happen. Not only do you have one of the longest track layouts in the world at 7.004 kilometers off the top of my head, I think, but it's also nestled deep into the Ardennes forest, and who knows what might happen when it comes to weather. And we've certainly seen weather play a part in the Spa 24 in the past, and that's something that, based on recent happenings, we are almost guaranteed to have again.
Absolutely. We'll touch on that in a second. I just wanted to add as well, I think I said a couple of years ago, this is the perfect racetrack. And I still maintain that opinion. Every corner on here is a different sort of challenge. Obviously, you got the source hairpin. First corner, it's important to get that right as you blast your way up full tilt. Eau Rouge already on. Don't need to talk about those. We know how awesome they are.
And how terrifying they are.
How terrifying they are. How if you get 1 inch offline, you're going to have a slightly small accident.
A slightly small accident where you're going to ride off a car.
Or 2.
Yeah, wow, damn.
Yeah.
Just happy accident.
Okay, Bob Ross. Then coming down Kenmore Straight, and then Lecombe, the second heavy braking point, a tricky corner to get right as well. I just love that whole section. It's a test of balls, commitment, bravery, and it's just so much fun to watch, especially at night.
It does have a little bit of everything. I remember when you said that you thought Spa was the perfect racetrack, and I think it's almost true. I think it's something that I've used to describe it. It's a high downforce circuit connected by massive F-off straights, and I think that is how you would describe Spa Francorchamps. It's a really difficult engineering and setup proposition, because you have the combination of these fast-flowing corners and sometimes some very slow and very difficult corners, but also these long straights between them to make it really difficult to find that compromise point in a setup.
Sorry. And then you get down to the more technical second sector, and some of the most iconic corners here. You've got Bruxelles, Pouhon. Pouhon especially is a corner I've never got right in the sim, ever. It's just so much fun. The double left-hander downhill. Is it even off camber?
A little bit on entry. Yeah. Have you ever got any corner right on a sim, Kiwi?
No. And then
you come through the route.
And then you come through Campos Stavelo, and that's the end of sector 2. And once you get through that, then you come across one of the scariest corners, I think, in World Motorsport, Blanchamont.
Whoa.
But you're doing close to 300 on entry, very baby lift, tuck it in and just hope your tyre hasn't given way.
Now, Kiwi, you're listing off all the corners, and I can name something that's synonymous with a lot of them. That's going to be track limits. As we know, during the Spa 24 weekend, track limits is a huge issue. Lots of people try to go past off the curb, the little white line that differentiates what determines off track and on track. And we've seen controversies in the past where during the day they'll call it every single time. They've been pretty good at that, I believe so. But then at night, it gets really hard to differentiate because you can't really see out there. Not in the webcams. I assume they use like CCTV cameras to and the marshals reporting it back to the tower. Sometimes it can be hard to tell, so people get away with it a lot at night, and then those same actions, those bad habits continue on in the morning, then they get caught and teams get mad. So it's definitely going to play a part in the race.
Oh, for sure. And just how you manage that. Hey, because track limits, if you get a warning in the first 2 hours, which we've seen before, then that's 22 hours of absolute tiptoeing. And that can ruin your race because the drive-through penalty here is no small penalty because you go through both the pit lanes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, of course, you've got the main pit lane, but we're running, what did you say, 58 cars?
58 cars this year?
Yeah, so that means that they do run both pit lanes. And so a drive-through penalty is easily a 1.5 minute hit to your lap time.
And that will, in most series, would put pay to your race, but we'll get to that in a second here. Now, Flood, you mentioned before about weather. Unfortunately, we've seen weather take an absolute toll on this race already. Those of you keeping up with the affairs have seen that there's been massive flooding through Germany, Belgium, and parts of Europe recently. Spa itself has been damaged from that. Some access roads are closed, and I don't believe they've actually been fixed. Some of the access roads have been damaged, and even the track got damaged in the first instance in June. So that's obviously not ideal. And also, it's cost us Fricadelli racing this year.
Yeah, that is very sad.
Right, yeah.
We'll talk about the track damage first. So there was an article put up on Daily Sports Car just last night for us down under, going through the extent of the damage. We saw some pictures earlier in the week of the tunnel that goes underneath Eau Rouge, literally filled to the very top with this brackish black brown water. So of course the floods in Europe at the moment have been devastating. Have left a bunch of people homeless, have left a bunch of people injured, and has caused a bunch of damage, and also some loss of life, which is actually quite sad. So our condolences and our thoughts with everyone who's being affected. But for Spa Francorchamps specifically, they are actually in the process, right as we speak, of resurfacing a bunch of the pit lane and a few of the access roads. There's one picture that got shared in this article of the main road, the main access road for, I'm trying to find the details of it specifically, the freight access road just completely destroyed, like just a pile of rubble and trees. So a lot of work still to do, but hopefully everything will be ready to go for next week with fingers, arms, legs, toes, and eyes crossed. Hips,
maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, they're definitely trying to get it done because right now they're doing track repairs, and the British GT Championship, being the main course of the weekend here, is using the F1 pits. So I presume that means there's damage in the regular main pits. By F1 pits, I don't know if they mean the old F1 pits or the main.
It'd be the
pits
new ones, the upper F1
okay,
lane.
be the new ones. Okay.
So they're actually resurfacing the entire bottom area at the moment. So the lower pit lane, they're actually resurfacing the entire paddock area of that.
Okay, so significant.
Yeah,
significant damage, and of course Fricadelli. They were bringing two Porsches, and they were probably going to be two Porsches that were going to be close to the podium as well.
Yes, big sad for the Fricadelli, especially after the events of the Nürburgring 24-hour and the whole echo everything and how that race went for them. It would have been great to see them come to arguably the most competitive GT3 event of the year, and I'll touch on why I say that in a moment, and put up a really good challenge. But yeah, they had decided to pull out to. Did they pull out to support the disaster relief effort, or just because they couldn't justify leaving the Nürburgring?
I think a lot of the team actually come from that region.
Yeah, okay.
So as much as about saying, oh, this is certainly not the right time to go racing.
Yeah.
Which is totally fair enough, and it's a shame, because Fricadelli, I think, are one of the nice guys of the race.
Yeah, I hope what they do broadly with this event is what they did at the Bathurst 12-hour last year, before, the world got plunged into whatever this mess is now, but focusing on disaster relief for the fires at the beginning of 2020 in Australia, where there was a big push to support to those who have lost their homes, lost families, lost loved ones, and hopefully an event such as this can do some good in the community.
Yes, we can certainly hope, and it's tough, but life does go on, and we should now put our focus, as much as we want to look at the past, put our focus on the events of next week. And well, before we get into that, we should talk about where this GT3 Championship is at, because of course Spa is a round of the Endurance Cup, the GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS and sponsored by Fanatec.
Get that sponsors in. Get those sponsors in.
Yes, because they're paying me totally. This is the, correct me if I'm wrong, third endurance round.
Oh yes,
yes, it is. Monza and Paul Ricard were the first two.
Yeah,
you're
right.
And the series so far has been, well, you mentioned it before, Flood, competitive as all hell.
Yes, but I'd say that this race in particular is the most competitive GT3 race that exists. And we all, like, I won't say it's the best, but I'd say it's the most competitive. I mean, we all love the Nürburgring 24, but that's very much the love child of the German manufacturers and the German teams. Normally the Bathurst 12 hour goes off, but that hasn't happened this year. But everyone brings their big guns to the Spa Francorchamps. It is the race that every team wants to win because it's the race that everyone is at. And the way that the championship has been going this season, it has shown that there is a lot of competitiveness up and down the field. And so for the big 24-hour race, this has to be the one that everyone wants to win. If you're in a GT3 car.
Yes, which, you know.
Are you in a GT3 car?
I'm not in a GT3 car, but there are 60 or 58 GT3 cars here across 4 categories. And if you look at where we've been so far, so we had the precursor, the Paul Ricard 6 hours, won by GPX Martini, Earl Bamber, Matty Campbell, and Matthew Gemini. If it wasn't for the fact that they retired from the first race in Monza, that'd be top of the standings right now. First race, you go on.
And they were in the mix in that first race as well, weren't they?
They were. I think it was an electrical gremlin, and then they killed them off.
That sounds plausible.
yeah. And obviously the Monza round won by Dynamic Motorsport, which is a team, when they had their first win a couple of years ago, we were like, holy crap, who are these guys? They've gone and done it again.
They are based out of Monza, if I'm not mistaken.
They are. That was Klaus Bachler, Matteo Chiroli, and Christian Engelhardt. But you look through the entry list, you've got drivers of such quality. You've got the Van Thor brothers, you've got Jules Gournon, you've got Calvin Vanderland, Raffaele Marciello, who is currently second in the overall when you combine the sprint and endurance cup championship. And then you get down here some of the best AM drivers in the world, some of the best pro-AM drivers. It's 24 hours, and unlike say Le Mans or Nürburgring, we have multiple classes on track. This is 58 cars doing similar pace, doing similar lap times. The difference is the quality of the drivers, and that can make for some really tense moments. And I just can't wait.
It's going to be very, very interesting indeed because of exactly that. You kind of end up with the big old train of cars because the GT3 cars are all doing about the same pace. And that has a few different run-on effects, but I'll let Kris talk about his thoughts and opinions on that before I go too deep down the rabbit hole.
Sorry, I had to grab some water because I was... what was that?
Kris!
Sorry, it's hot here.
It is... Oh, well, I take off all your clothes. What were we talking about, Kiwi?
Kris, talk to the competitive of the series and what makes this series so crazily competitive.
Yeah, so the series is obviously one of the must-watches for me live. And the fact that, let's see, look at Monza, for instance, we had a bunch of tire issues, sort of, Pirelli, British Grand Prix moment. Lots of tires are going down. Lots of people, I believe, are trying to stay out on the wets, and their tires just kept going. Or they tried. It was either people trying to stay out on the wets or people trying to stay out on the dries. I can't remember which the finer details of that. But tires are blowing. That was the main part of the story at Monza. And then we had Paul Ricard, which, if I do remember, it was kind of a strategy race until the last think we had like a safety car or a full course yellow in the last hour or two, and I want to say the dynamic Porsche took the win in that event.
Other way around.
But
Dynamic won at Monza.
no, that's right, man. Okay.
So we're in for a great race here. We should talk about some of the regulations though, because you've talked about how competitive the series is and how there's usually 30 cars fighting for that top position in pro class, for example. The regulations of the series make that possible, but they also really, really suck in my eyes. I'm talking about the pit stop regulations here.
Yeah, and this is something that someone new to endurance racing might not immediately see as an issue. So, for those who haven't seen the 24 Hours of Spa in previous editions, the long and the short of it is that the stints are mandated to be a maximum of 65 minutes, unless a full course yellow or safety car comes out basically immediately before that. So what that means is that you can only do a maximum of 65 minutes between your pit stops, and then on top of that, there is a minimum pit stop time. So if you refuel the car and change tires, there is a minimum amount of time that is allowed to take. On top of that, at some point during the race, there must be a 4 minute what's called a technical pit stop. So the idea behind these things is to remove congestion in the pit lane and to allow teams to use some less efficient equipment, some cheaper equipment, and also not spend 50 million years training and practicing pit stops for the crew. In effect, though, it does have the unwanted drawback of standardizing the race, so to speak. What basically ends up happening is you end up with everyone effectively on the same strategy without deviation, because it is the optimal strategy to pit basically at every 65 minutes, which, helps keep the train all together in one big old line, and helps keep the race really, really close, which are all, good things. But what it does lose is an element of variability in strategy. It loses an element of the team performance and the how the pit stops can make or break a race victory. I remember seeing a blog post by Paul Truswell, who talked to one of the team members, saying that they were punished for they felt like they were getting punished for their success by turning a car around quicker than their competitors. So it is one of those things that helps kind of standardize the race and keep it all nice and close, but also reduce the flexibility and strategy options. I don't know, Kris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think in my personal opinion, I do understand why they do it, but I think they should do away with it with the pro cars. I just love a good strategy race. I love this way things play out. And I don't know if you mentioned about the technical pit stop. I can't remember if you mentioned it or not, but They do have a mandated stop for like brake changes and stuff. And it's nothing new to Spa. The 24 Hours of Fuji does that as well. So it's not just a Spa thing for the mandated brake change pit stop. But I would say, on the bright side, trying to look on the glass half full kind of things, it's unique to Spa. It's something that's unique to this race. You don't see it anywhere else apart from maybe other IGTC events, but it adds to the character, and you don't see it anywhere else. So that's kind of my glass half full kind of way of looking at it. Yeah, it doesn't happen anywhere else.
That is a good point. I mean, the other big GT3 events, like the Bathurst 12 Hour, was going to bring in these regulations and then got the most incredible backlash to the point where they were like, okay, we're not going to do that. And that was fantastic.
That's because that was just the antithesis of what Australian racing is.
Exactly. And of course, it was the antithesis of what happened in that year's Bathurst 12 Hours. This was off the back of 2019, where you had 6 different cars from 6 different makes, all trying to go about getting the win in 6 different ways. So to standardise that would have been ridiculous. But anyway, so the Nürburgring 24 has its own pit stop standardisation, which works for the Nürburgring because it's a 24-kilometre track. Le Mans has its own way of doing things. IMSA has its own way of doing things, and I guess this is the IGTC way of doing things. I can certainly, as Kris say, understand it. I don't have to like it, but I can certainly understand it. There was something else I wanted to add here. I think knocking it off of the pro cars is a good thought, and I hope that they do that. Also, some teams are so good that they do their brake changes in their normal stop and then just spend their technical stop like repairing damage or washing the car or some other stuff, which is kind of okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they're good enough to do it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But I don't, as much as we talk about those regulations, I think the biggest scourge for me at the moment is not to do with the pit stops themselves. It's what happens on track. We're seeing increased prevalence lately of full course yellows being called, then the safety car being called.
I think that's the standardization because it happens basically almost every time, and I don't know why they would do that.
The argument they've used is that it's safety. They don't want 20 cars taking off in a small section of track at the same time when full course yellows are reduced. But what you do, you completely compromise the racing. Completely.
It kind of defeats the purpose of having a full course yellow as a thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand having a full course yellow to slow everyone down before having a safety car. But the point of the full course yellow is to remove the small incidents you can remove fairly easily, like a car stuck in gravel, which you don't need a safety car for.
I can tell you feel very passionately about this, Kris.
This is just a regulation that needs to stop and needs to stop now. And I have a mind to fly to Belgium, even though I can't because of lockdown, to smash Stefan Brattel up the side of the face.
It's almost like IMSA. It's almost like watching an IMSA race, basically, where they just, except they don't use the full course yellows, but you get that where they just completely do a safety car for a car that's stopped on track that just could be, done under local yellow or FCY. And I mean, bright side, it brings the pack back up. People who are maybe ahead of the leader trying to get the lap back, they get their lap back. Obviously, not like IMSA where they do like a lucky dog sort of situation, but the safety cars, they take a while. And there's normally at least one incident every year where there's Armco that needs to have a safety car for. So leave the safety cars for those type of incidents and not for the measly little Bentley that's trapped in the sand trap somewhere.
And on top of that as well, because of the function of the 24 Hours of Spa, where it has 58 cars at Spa Francorchamps, which is, as we've made mention, one of the most challenging racetracks in the world, there is this settling period which can take sometimes 4, 5, 8, 12, 20 hours, wherein there will be a string of incidents where drivers will get straight into a car and have an accident, and then there will be a safety car, and then they'll go green and they'll have an accident, and there'll be a safety car, and that keeps snowballing. And trying to minimize that by having the full course yellow for the smaller accidents would be a great way to do so. But this has been something that's gone back all the way to like 2016, 2015, when full course yellows first became a thing that people started doing. Yeah, it just seems to be the SRO way of doing things, is you go full course yellow, and then you go full course yellow, you clean up the incident, and then you go safety car. It's like, well, what's the point? So it does have the the effect of basically, like, I liken it to having like your cutoff point of being a lap down, and once you are a lap down, there is really no coming back. There is no, as Kris said, there is no lucky dog. There is no pass around. Once you are a lap down at this event, you might as well just put it in the garage, because there is no coming back.
Yep. And that just, I don't think it's what GT3 racing is about. I don't think we should be gifting them a lap back, but they should have a chance to get it back at least.
Yeah, exactly. But
Anyway.
let's talk about some good things about this series and this race.
Yes, we should. Shall we talk about the race itself and the entries list and the 58 cars that will be doing battle?
58 cars?
Yep. We got 24. We got 24 pro cars, which is in itself a great race. Then
That's basically like a national GT3 series grid right there in terms of size.
I wish the Australian GT series had 24 cars.
24 pro GT3 cars.
Oh my god.
Add into that 14 Pro-Am Cup cars, 17 Silver Cup, and 3 Am Cup cars. It's a field full of talent. And shall we get stuck into it?
Before we get stuck into it, Kris, can you give us an explanation of what these classes mean?
Yeah, so the pro cars are going to be their all pro lineups, your platinum and golds and some super silvers, the ones that can get away with. But these are the guys that most likely they race full time in the series, or if they don't, they picked up some off the road drivers. Obviously, with the Spa 24, nothing major as far as on my radar is clashing sports car wise, so they can bring in all these drivers no problem. Pro-Am, as you see here, we got 14 cars here. I believe they need a bronze.
2 bronze, I believe.
Yeah, they need. So that's their handicap, and now obviously you're allowed golds and silvers to offset the bronze driver. And normally we see some Pro-Am cars a little bit high on the entry during the last parts of the race, just due to attrition alone. Then we have AMs. These are your pay drivers, completely, non-professionals. They work their day jobs. I believe no golds, no platinums. It has to be bronze and silvers only. Although there's some silvers in here, like Nico Menzel, who maybe probably should be in a Pro-Am car at least, but we'll get to that later. And normally, they have a 4th class here for 991 Cup cars. That's not a thing anymore. They got rid of it. Only got like 3 cars anyway. We have the Silver Cup, which has 17 cars. Now, obviously, this is mostly silvers. There's a couple golds and bronze sprinkled in there, like on top of your ice cream dish. But this is mainly silvers. This is their time to shine. And we got some noble entries here that we're going to talk about later. I believe we got Bentley in here. That's going to be the talk of the town.
Yeah, Silver Cup, which mentioned no platinums allowed. So that's their stipulation there.
Silver sprinkles are my favourite kind of sprinkles.
If they're not mercury sprinkles.
Oh, no, don't like that.
All right. Shall we get cracking then, lads?
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll start where we start with the Pro Cup, the all-pro entries that are likely to be gunning for overall victory. We'll break this down. We'll go manufacturer by manufacturer, of which we have, from count, 12 manufacturers in this race. Or 12. There's 12 GT3 manufacturers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 8 in the Pro Cup class. And the first of those, the sole entry from Aston Martin, the Garage 59, number 95. Get your numbering right, guys. Come on. Number 95, Dane Train, Nicky Thiem, Marco Sorensen, and Ross Gunn.
The Dane Train. Great stories of times past. Yeah, this is a scary looking car right off the bat.
It is.
Thiem and Sorensen, of course, former WEC entries, and Ross Gunn has had his moments as an up-and-coming Aston Martin driver, has had his good moments, has had his not good moments, but is certainly a quick driver on track. The worry for me in this team is longevity, making sure that they stay with the lead of the pack throughout the entire race. If they're able to do that, they might be in for a shout at the end. Well,
I think Kris can attribute to this, but Aston have never done well at Spa. And I think
well, if you're thinking lower classes, they might have a couple class wins, but their pro entries haven't been doing too hot here in the 24 hours of Spa. And want to mention Ross Gunn. I believe he's filling in for can't remember who, I think it's Andrew Turner, or who has COVID. Yeah, Darren Turner. I believe that's the guy who's filling in for British GT because of COVID protocols. So he's going to get some track experience the week before the event. That's going to be massive help to that team and to him. So we'll see how this Aston team turns out. I want them to do well because Aston Martin never really generally does well in these GT3 races.
Also, I just realised Ross Gunn's still only 24.
Yes,
he's been around for a decade.
Yeah, well, it does feel like that. That's sort of how these young professional pathways work nowadays. Like, if you think about it, Phil Hansen has been racing. This is Phil Hansen from United Autosports fame. He's been racing for, I think it's 5 years, and he's 21.
Yeah.
How terrifying is that?
Crazy. It's crazy. Ross Gunn has also had some success in the IMSA side of things this year in the GTD class. So this car, if they can get the car together, and Garage 59 is an all right team to do that, they're not without a chance.
I think if you compare them to the rest of the entry list, they are at an outside chance at best, but we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll move on now to our Audi conglomerate. We have 5 Audis in this race, starting with the 2 from Centerlock, numbers 25 and 26. The 25 car piloted by Marcus Winkelhock, Patrick Niederhauser, and Christopher Haase. And the 26 piloted by James Green, Finlay Hutchison, and Adrian Tambay. So you definitely got the Centerlock young guns and the Centerlock experienced heads there.
Yes, and let's focus on the experienced heads first. Winkelhock has been a master of GT3 racing for quite a long time, and also is the only driver to have led in 100% of the Formula 1 races he has started, which is always...
You love that stat.
It's a great stat. It is a great stat. That race, of course, being the 2007 European Grand Prix, the one that everyone crashed in because it started raining. Patrick Niederhauser has been a up-and-coming driver from Switzerland. I rate him. I don't rate him hugely, but I do rate Haase and Winkelhock. Winkelhock has won this event, I think, multiple times in the past, with some just incredible drives at the seat of Audi machinery. So if that car is anywhere near the front half of the field in the last half of the race, look for Winkelhock to bring it to the front.
Absolutely.
And I want to shed some light on Patrick Niederhauser. You mainly see him in the ADAC GT Master Championship. Generally does well. He wins a few races here and there. I believe he races with the Retronic Audi, or maybe that was last season. But he did win the ADAC GT Masters Championship in 2019 and finished second in the 2020 24 Hours of Nürburgring. I think overall, but does say SP9 Pro-Am class. So he's not bad.
And he's recently been upgraded from silver to gold in the last, I think it's 2 or 3 seasons. So he's finding his way in being a full-time professional driver and all the responsibilities that come with that.
And so that car should do well. The 26 is interesting to me because these are names that people who don't pay attention to GT3 probably don't know that well. Kris, you want to go through these drivers? Or not?
And he's dead.
66?
No, the 26.
Yeah, so James Green, and then Finlay Hutchison. I want to say they raced... I never actually heard of James Green before.
I'm going to take a stab. This is British GT3.
I know Finlay Hutchison raced with Phoenix before. He did a little bit of GT4s back in his day. I do kind of rate him. He did do some British GT4, more specifically. And then you have the Adrian Tambay, which that's everybody knows is I believe his father, Formula One fame. And this is also a French team, sort of the home race, sort of. And Saint-Hilaire has, I believe, won a race this year in the Sprint Cup. At I believe it was Magny-Cours. So this team has a shed of promise in it. Will it do well over 24 hours? We'll see.
Yeah, James Green. This is the Spa entry list being official. We might know him as Jamie Green, the long-time DTM
racer. Jamie Green, I've heard of. Yeah, DTM, old DTM drive. Okay.
Yeah.
Classic SRO entry list.
Yeah.
Yeah, heard. Yeah, I never looked up James Green. He's a Olympic wrestler. I don't think that's him.
I said no. We're not allowed to get distracted by the Olympics.
What? That's what Google, okay? That's Google's fault. That's Google's fault.
For those playing along at home, we are recording this while literally the first events of the Olympics are happening. So,
and we're going to get into the cycling, so we've got to move on.
Yes, this is true.
Yes. Next to Audis from WRT, and these cars are both phenomenal. Dries Vanthoor, Kelvin van der Linde, Charlie Wirtz in the 32, and Robin Froens, Dennis Lind, Nico Müller in the 37. Oh boy.
Oh my god.
Oh boy is definitely correct. Looking at that 32 car, Dries Vanthoor and Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Wirtz, that is a scary car. Like right off the bat, that is a car that could win overall quite easily.
Yeah.
And the fact that Charlie Wirtz and Vanthoor, I believe they share a car in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, and I believe they're doing quite well in the championship. So these guys already have a chemistry. They know how to react to each other. They know each other's requests. They know what they like. So it's very easy for them to get along. And of course, Kelvin van der Linde, the guy in the middle here, obviously raced with these guys before in other competitions. So this is a very strong team, with chemistry and talent. I would not bet against these guys at all unless you have a very stacked wallet.
Yes. And Charlie Wirtz is currently leading the Sprint Cup.
Yeah, wow.
And he's 20.
Yeah, the thing is, WRT have an incredible driver promotion program. We've seen so many good drivers come through that program, including the likes of Dries Vanthoor and Kelvin van der Linde, who before joining WRT and before joining the Audi program were no names, and now they are the biggest world beaters in GT3 racing. And
the fact that Lawrence Vanthoor came from WRT as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't even talked about the 37 yet, which has Robin Froens, Dennis Lind, and Nico Müller in there, which is, Froens himself is a incredible driver that almost won a Blank Pane series with Lawrence Vanthoor, 7 years ago. Wow. That's a long time. But yeah, they're all six of these drivers are up there with world beaters. What do you reckon's the better car out of those two?
Definitely the 32.
Just.
Yeah, I'd agree, but only very just.
Yeah. Either way, those two cars should be up in the top 10 coming out of 22.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Then we move on to the last pro Audi from Attempto Racing, number 66, with Matteo Drudi, Christopher Mies, and Dennis Marshall. There's a name that people might not know. Yeah.
Talk us through Dennis Marshall. Where has he come from?
ADAC GT Masters.
Okay, cool. So has he been performing well enough to earn a Audi Sport Team Attempto Pro seat?
Yeah, he's not a dominant force. Keep in mind that ADAC GT Masters has been low on my watch list, but I haven't watched the races. But I do believe he has won a couple races in that championship before. So with him being an Audi driver, and he might even, if Attempto fields a car for ADAC GT Masters, that might even be his regular drive. So not necessarily a bad pickup, Dennis Marshall. Obviously the silver, that's probably the main reason why he has the seat. He's not going to crash the car. I don't remember him being reckless. He'll definitely keep the car in one piece, and he could be fast if he wants to.
I'll fill in some gaps here. He's actually been racing for Attempto in the Silver Cup and the Sprint Cup this year. Hasn't been lighting the world on fire. And he drove this pro car for WRT last year at Spa. So he knows how to drive. I don't think he necessarily knows how to drive fast. He's also only 24.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the other drivers, though, because you've got Christopher Mies, who's been an Audi stalwart for a decade now, and Matteo Drudi, who is, again, one of the most up-and-coming, exciting drivers in a Audi. It's very interesting to me that an Italian driver is driving an Audi and not a Ferrari, but he's still very much deserving of a drive.
Oh, for sure. And Christopher Meese, we know what he can do. You know what you can say?
Just it surprises me a little bit that Audi have distributed their talent quite evenly across 5 cars. Like we talked about the 32 being like a crazy car, but like why wouldn't you, if you were WRT, put say Dries Vanthoor and Kelvin van der Linde with Marcus Winkelhock and just have one mega stacked car out of the 5 cars versus each car having a somewhat lower talent in it?
I think they've got a lot of faith in what Charlie Averts can do. And at the moment, that's been proven. So I don't think that was ever in their thoughts, in all honesty.
I mean, that's fair enough. It's just a very interesting philosophy, I guess, in that respect, to have a mix of a wide breadth of talent spread across a bunch of cars, as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 stacked cars. There's the word again, stacked. And one or 2 like maybe that'll work cars.
But who are you to question what Audi Sport do with their juniors?
This is true. This is true.
They've proven time and time again. They know what they're doing.
Over the last 15 years, Audi Sport has just been the dominant force in GT racing. So who am I to say anything about that?
Exactly. Not like you're a motorsport journalist or anything, because they're allowed to have ideas.
Nah, not at all.
No. So there's your 5 Audis. Which one do you think is going to be the best? 32?
Or that or 25?
Okay.
Kris?
I think I want to say 32.
Yeah, that's just the honeypot. I think that's just going to attract a lot of people in for fantasy WEC.
But Marcus Winkelhock, though.
I know. Anyway, let's not get distracted. We'll get our top picks later. We'll move on now to the 2 BMWs in the pro class in this race, both from Falkenhorst Motorsport. The 34 with Sheldon van der Linde, Marco Wittmann, and David Pittard. And the 35 with Timo Glock, Martin Chomchik, and Thomas Neubauer. I've mispronounced that last name so badly.
Neubauer.
So both these cars have 2 pro drivers and a Super Silver. Kris, what can you tell us about these cars?
Yeah, so David Pittard, he really only seen for the really big events like Spa 24 and Nürburgring 24. I believe he does NLS full time for Falkenhorst. Then you have Sheldon van der Linde, who I believe might have won his first DTM race in Monza a couple weeks ago. So very good achievement from him. He has a win under his bag. Confidence must be high for him. Then you have Marco Wittmann, former DTM champion, I believe 2014 when he scored that W. Timo Glock and Martin Tomczyk. I know Timo Glock, also one of the DTM guys, and not to mention the guys who are racing DTM. They might have an advantage because they're racing at the Lausitz Ring this weekend, and they're using the oval turn 1, so they won't be a stranger to speed. They'll get that system. And they have Thomas Neubauer, who previously raced, I believe, the Tech 1 Racing Lexus in previous seasons for GT World Challenge Europe. So making the switch to BMW for the Spa 24.
Yep. So both these silver drivers, they've raced in, obviously this season earlier with the Endurance Cup. David Pittard raced at Nürburgring in the Beamer and actually won in his class in the 7th in the 11th of July. So that was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're both pretty solid drivers. And I think, and Thomas Neubauer, he's 22. He's still learning his craft. So I don't think these cars are both going to be up there at the end of things. But with the pro drivers in those cars, you can't count them out entirely just yet.
Yeah, it kind of, these drivers in these cars kind of shows the talent stocks of BMW at the moment after their GT challenge lit up and then fell apart very quickly. They kind of lost a few drivers to other marques and other manufacturers, and a few drivers have been delisted. So, for example, like Chaz Mostert, who we might have seen at this event, has ended his contract to focus on supercars. So there's a few things going on with BMW at the minute. these cars are certainly talented, but again, considering the talent in other cars, it would be a surprise for me to see them mixing it for the win in the latter stages of the race.
Yeah.
Keep in mind though, BMW is the most successful marque at the Spa 24 Hour. So
True.
They have won here before and also very recently.
True. But yeah, I can't see these two at the pointy end.
Nah. Sorry, Beamer fans.
Sorry. All right, we'll move on to two cars that definitely will be at the pointy end come 22 hours or 24 hours. The two Iron Lynx Ferraris. With the traditional Ferrari numbers of 51 and 71. The 51 with Alessandro Pierguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, Combe Ledegar.
Oh my god.
And the 71 with Antonio Fuoco, Callum Ilott, and David Regon.
Whoa.
They are six incredibly strong drivers. Callum Ilott has really impressed me in GT3.
Yeah, it's really surprising to see someone so fresh and so new to GT racing. This is, of course, he's coming straight from Formula 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you'd be right, Formula 2.
Pardon?
Yeah, Formula 2.
Yeah, you'd be right, it'd be Formula 2. Same with Antonio Fuoco.
Yeah, so these guys have come straight from Formula 2 competition and have just immediately been at the very top of GT3. It's kind of terrifying to watch. So the only thing that's concerning for me is how fresh they are to the endurance aspect of it, specifically for Ilott. That 51 car, though, Pierguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, and Combe Ledegar, that is a terrifying trio of drivers. You have there a World Endurance champion, a European Le Mans Series GT champion, and one of the brightest young sparks in the entire Ferrari driver base. I don't know where I got that word from. And a former Black Paint Endurance champion in Combe Ledegar. It's a terrifying trio of drivers. It's terrifying.
Yeah. And I just don't know what more we can say about them, but I don't know which one's stronger.
Well, I think entirely based off of experience, you have to go to the 51. Like, Fuoco's great. He has a World Endurance Championship win, like, literally a few weeks ago under his belt at Portimao in the GTM class. Callum Ilott.
And an Italian GT Endurance Championship for 2020.
There you go, that too. Callum Ilott, we just briefly made mention, Formula 2, very, very good. David Regon, again, FIA WEC Endurance Champion, but the 51 is just so much stronger. It's terrifying. That might be the most stacked lineup in the grid, maybe? I don't know.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
There's more than that, I can tell you that right
blimey.
Now. All right. We should move on now, I think, to some of those lineups that may not be as stacked, but names synonymous with this race. 3 cars from Lamborghini. The 63 will start with the Orange One Triple F Racing Team, Mirko Bertolotti, Marco Mapelli, and Andrea Caldarelli.
Blimey.
Yeah. Can you pick a weak link in that lineup? Anything bad about that lineup?
The fact that they're driving a Ferrari, which is a little weak on BOP at the moment?
The 63? No, they're in Lambo.
Oh, yeah, Lambo, sorry, not Ferrari. The other Italian one.
Yeah.
Now, this was also the team who led pretty much most of the powered card race and then got passed by GPX in the final stages. So they got hurt. They don't want to be hurt again.
And then you have... Yeah, go on.
It's kind of terrifying. Like, just again, looking at the quality of these squads, there is no weak link in that, like, at all. And I haven't been tracking GT3 racing too closely in the recent times, but Ferrari, I've said it again, Lamborghini have generally been a very sort of stable platform in terms of the BOP and where they kind of sit in that. Of course, it's basically an Audi with an Italian shell on it, so of course it's going to be quick. So it's going to be a pretty tasty car.
Oh, for sure. And then we've got 2 other Lambos in this field, both from Emil Frey Racing. So we've seen them jump around a bit. This time they're in the Lamborghini. Interesting driver lineups. Don't know if they're necessarily the best, but they're both interesting. The 114 with Arthur Regier, Consta Lapalainen, and Jack Aitken. And the 163 with Giacomo Altawi, Norbert Siedler, and Albert Costa.
What a weird sextet of drivers.
Yeah. It's weird that Jack Aitken is the most experienced of those six.
That's Norbert Siedler's there.
Apart from Norbert Siedler. But,
I was going to say.
Yeah. But they're not... Like, it's an interesting lineup for a Pro Kart class.
Yeah, if I was to make a list of maybe the 50 best GT3 drivers, I would not have any of these guys on my list. It is peculiar that the 114 isn't entered in Silver Cup, for example.
So I'm not even sure. I mean, it's still a chance for it to be regraded. Possibly.
What are your thoughts, Kris?
Yeah, so I've noticed because in the Sprint Cup, ML Frey won. I believe they even sweeped Zandvoort in the Sprint Cup, both races. If they didn't, they got pole for race 1, and I believe they won race 2.
They polled and won race 1 and had the fastest lap and finished second in race 2. However,
okay, that's great.
Both those drivers,
regardless. But none of those drivers are in the lineup in the Spa 24.
Yeah,
no
Ricardo Feller and Alex Fontana. Both Swiss drivers, neither of whom are here.
Yeah, that's head scratcher for me.
That is very peculiar. Possibly COVID related? I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm sure there will be more light shed on that in the coming week. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll never know.
But as much as I love Emil Frey racing, and their cars always look great, I just can't see them up the pointy end this year.
No, it would be a massive upset if that was to be the case, I think.
Yeah.
Now we do have to remind ourselves that they did have the Jaguar that was so, fan favorited and loved, and they, if I remember correctly, one year they were doing decent. Like they were up in the top 10 until obvious issues happened. Then ML Frey had a bit of a sabbatical from GT World Challenge Racing. They switched over to International GT Open, I believe, with the Lexus. Won a few races there, and now they're back here with the Lamborghinis. So we're going to have to wait and see how obviously we've been seeing good results of them in the Sprint Cup. Endurance rounds, I haven't seen them too high up on the table. So we're going to have to see how Spa goes. Maybe there'll be enough attrition for them to gain a decent result, because I don't think they're going to do it alone on pace.
I think they're more likely to be the attrition.
Oof.
Unfortunately.
Ouch.
Unfortunately.
Owie.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Okay, so we'll move on now. We have one McLaren in this race, one McLaren 720S, which is a shame because I always love seeing the McLaren on track. But the three drivers from this Jota Sport entry, number 38, traditional Jota number, Ben Barnicoat, Ollie Wilkinson, Rob Bell. Get your tea and crumpets. This is a very British entry.
It is. It really is. It's for three UK drivers in a very British team in a very British car, which has, by the way, been at the pointy end of almost everything it's raced in. I remember its first big outing was the Bathurst 12 Hour 2020, and it almost bloody won the damn thing. So it's if they've done any sort of development on that car, that's going to be one to watch. And God blimey, look at that driver lineup.
It's a crazy good driver lineup, and they haven't really hit their straps yet in the GT3 series so far this year. Ben Barnicoat, Ollie Wilson had a fourth place and ninth place, otherwise nothing to write home of. But if they can get the car together, and we know how good Jota as a team is, we'll not be surprised to see this car at the pointy end. Kris, anything you got to add on to the drivers here?
Yeah, I believe Oliver Wilkinson will race in the British GT round the week before, so that'll definitely help him. Obviously, same car. Ben Barnicoat, obviously, been in the game for a while now. Then Rob Bell, just a guy like that, having a platinum guy on the team that can really wheel on these things. It's going to be interesting. I think I'm 50-50 on this. It's a McLaren, so I don't think it's going to – I don't know if it's going to be coming home, but I think it's might finish in the top 15.
Oof.
Maybe it's going to come Rome instead.
Just
So
another quick note on
Yep.
Barnacote. Well, firstly, Rob Bell, again, Blankpain GT Endurance winner in 2016 with the McLaren. And Ben Barnacote, if you ever have the chance to meet and talk to Ben Barnacote in person, make sure that you take it, because he is an absolute joy to talk to. I was lucky enough over the beginning of last year to have a chat with him at both the Asian Le Mans Series round, where he was driving a Dallara, and the Bathurst 12 Hour, where he was driving the McLaren, and he was just absolutely just enthralled to be a part of the event, and the fact that he came away with 2 podium positions was just on top of the moon. So Ben Barnacote is one of the best lads in the paddock, and yeah, if you ever get a chance to have a chat with him, make sure you take it. And also, he's bloody quick.
Is he bloody quick enough to take a chance of taking the overall victory?
I think yes.
Ooh.
I think yes. I think this car is a sleeper. I reckon this car is going to be up there.
Excellent. If it's 2 a.m, there won't be anyone sleeping around the car.
That's funny.
All right. So yeah, that car's a decent chart. We'll move on now. We have 2 more mates. We have Mercedes now with 4 pro entries, the usual 4 pro entries. The number 4 Holden Racing Team.
Holden Racing Team. Wow.
Whoops. HRT Hubert Racing Team.
I thought it was Hout Racing Team.
Hout Racing Team. My God.
There we go. We did it.
Woo. Hout Racing Team. Maro Engel, Lucas Stoltz, Vincent Abreu.
Scary, even more scary.
Yeah, there's very little to say about that, but from holy cow.
Yeah,
if this car doesn't win, there's a problem.
The problem with saying that, Chris, is I don't even think that's the best Mercedes.
No. Not at all.
You can't say, if this car doesn't win, that's a problem, and then go, wait, hang on, it's not even the best Mercedes.
No, it's not. Not at all, because we get down to the number 50 Hub Auto Mercedes. Maxi Book, Maxi Götz, Yelmer Berman.
Like, that car is it's just better. Like, the double max power. I can't, like, you can't really fault the pair of Maximilians. They have been the most consistent Mercedes pairing over the past 5 to 10 years. It's just kind of scary. And Yelmer Berman, like, people kind of forget about how good Yelmer Berman is behind the wheel of that car, because you've got the star power of Maxi Book and Maxi Götz. So that car, it's, I think so far, the only triple platinum car as well that we've seen. So Mercedes are definitely not doing that thing where they split their driver talent between 2 or 3 cars. It's just a really good car. It's just a really good car.
And an update on Vincent Abreu. He's gonna be driving. He might be a little mad, because he just breaking news from today. He got disqualified from the first DTM round at Monza. So not a good week starting off for him already.
Oof. Yeah. So the Hout Racing Team, we know, is a very good, very professional team. And the likes of Lucas Stoltz and Vincent Abreu are very, very good drivers. There is a little bit of a gap to Maxi Book, Maxi Götz, and Yelmer Berman. I think that is going to be the deciding factor between those 2 cars specifically. But there's still 2 more.
Yeah, and I'm still not convinced we've covered the best Mercedes yet.
Oh, it's mighty close.
So we have ACA ASP, Mercedes stalwart team with 2 cars, the 88 with Raffaele Marciello, Danny Giuncadella, and Jules Gagnon. And the 89, which is more of the younger-ish, with Timur Boguslavski.
You did very well with that.
Philippe Fraga, and Lucas Auer.
So the number 89 is a bit of an unknown quantity for me. I have seen Felipe Fraga. Anyone who's been watching WEC competition or even IMSA competition would have recognized that name driving for Keating Motorsports, sandwiched between your own Blake Mullen and Ben Keating, before he got upgraded to gold, because that's what Super Silvers do. But Lucas Auer and Timur Boguslavski are 2 names that I am not familiar with.
Kris, you're the obscure racing guy. This is your domain.
Just frantically Googling in the background.
So Timur sorry, American. I don't deal with foreign names very well. The Russian guy. He been racing full time in the GT World Championship, and he has, I believe, he's been close to winning a couple races. I don't know if he's scored one yet, but he races full time with Mercedes. Felipe Fraga races the LMP3 with in IMSA with I believe Ben Keating. That team, I believe they already won a few races or two. Also won the 24 Hours of Circuit the Americas in the WeatherTech Mercedes. So he's had 24-hour race wins with this car before. And also stock car Brazil driver, probably former stock car Brazil driver at this rate because he's doing more sports car competitions than domestic races in this day and age. And obviously Lucas Auer, DTM driver as well, and been racing the GT3s pretty much ever since I can remember.
Yeah, so it's an interesting car, that one, but it's definitely not the talent of the 88. Let's be real.
So let's talk about the 88 because we kind of brushed over it. Gianni Juncadella, very, very experienced driver in a Mercedes. Jules Gounon has driven, I think, 4 different types of GT cars and has been very, very proficient in all of them. A former ADAC GT winner while he was on the way up the ranks. And then you have the king of Macau, Raffaele Marciello.
Yeah, this is a top lineup. I'm going to ask you now, Flood. 50 or 88?
50.
You're still going to
I think 50 is the best. It's not by much, but I think it's the best Mercedes out of them. And part of that is because it's a triple platinum car, and we haven't seen any others.
Kris, same question to you. Do you dissent?
Yeah, I do think definitely the 88 is going to be the strongest card. Obviously, Marcello, up-and-comer FIA GT World Cup winner multiple times. Jules Gounon's basically a god in everything he touches. He has like the Midas touch. But the 4 is definitely very strong. But I do think I'm going to call it. I'm going to lock it in, throw away the key. That's going to be the honeypot pick. I don't think it's going to make it to the other race.
Ooh. Bold.
That's bold. Yep. And now we've settled that the 89 is probably going to be the best of all of them. But anyway,
that would be about right.
Not in our form. So we're down now to our last 6 cars in the Pro Cup. All Porsche 911s. Flood, keep it calm.
Oh, you can't tell me what to do.
We'll start with the first car. There's 2 cars here from KCMG, our Cantonese, what do you call them? Our friends from Hong Kong. They have 2 interesting cars. Number 18 is really more their lower level drivers, I guess you'd call it. Edo Liberati, Josh Burden from Australia, and Alex Imperatori, the gold driver from Switzerland. And the 47, this is where it gets interesting. Maxime Martin, Lawrence Landfor, Nick Tandy.
So let's ignore the 47 for a moment because I'm going to salivate over that in a second. Number 18 car. So you may recognize a few of those names from a few other things. I just want to pick out Josh Burden for a moment. So Australian driver. This trio of drivers raced at the Bathurst 12 Hour in a Nissan in 2020, except they didn't race. They were entered in the Bathurst 12 Hour. Josh Burden set the fastest time in first practice and then binned it under the tree and wrote the car off for the weekend. So he certainly has pace, but temperament is something that may need to be worked on for him and that team. So I'm gonna maybe write off the 18 as an overall contender because I don't think it's gonna have the longevity of, for example, the 47, which has 3 of the best Porsche drivers in the entire world driving it.
I mean,
where do you go from there? Where do you go from there? You've got Lawrence Vantour, who may be the best GT3 driver in the world for the past 5 years. You have Nick Tandy, who's just the best at everything he does. And Maxime Martin, who, again, is just a very, very good Porsche Platinum driver. Where do you improve?
Yeah, this is the second and only other car which is an all platinum lineup, and oh boy!
And where do you go? Where do you go from there?
What can you say? Kris, do you have anything intelligent to add? No, wait, you're American, you don't.
Oof!
Oh.
Ouch! Wow! Kiwi spitting
Wow.
straight fire today. Far out.
That's okay. You'll lose in the soccer.
Low, bro. Low blow.
USA. USA.
So yeah, the 47's gonna be strong. We know that.
Just as an aside, is there anything more beautiful than a chrome blue KCMG car with the number 47 on it?
Nah,
Absolutely not.
it's one of the best sights in world motorsport.
It'd be better if it was Nissan, but of course
Definitely not.
Nissan's too long in the tooth now.
That is actually a good reason for Listen.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned there, Flood, Lawrence Danthor, one of the best GT3 drivers going around at the moment. The most informed driver, I think, is in the car we're going to talk about next. The number 21 Rutronic Racing, Sven Muller, Ricard Leitz, Kevin Est.
Yeah.
He cannot put a foot wrong at the moment.
Yeah, so for those who have not been watching the WEC, Kevin Est has basically been the king of the GTE Pro paddock. To the point where it's absurd, quite honestly. He's consistently 2 to 3 tenths of a second quicker than everyone else, including his teammates, including the competition drivers in the Ferraris, including guys like Alessandro Pierguidi and Davide Rigon. And that might not sound like much, but in a 24-hour race, 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap, across a 2-minute lap is, what, let's do some quick maths here. It's, 5 seconds every hour?
Mm-hmm.
And that adds up to a lot of time over the course of a 24-hour race. So Kevin Est has been incredible. He's paired with Ricard Leitz, who has been driving Porsches longer than I've been watching sports car racing. So he's certainly got plenty of experience. And then Sven Muller. So I don't think I rate Sven as much as Porsche does. I've never really been impressed by a drive from Sven Muller, and he's had plenty of opportunities to impress me.
He's solid, if not quick. I don't think I've seen him put it wrong, but I haven't seen him take a race by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. He's just kind of consistent, clean, brings it back, unexciting, but that's kind of good in an endurance race as well.
Yeah. But when you got someone like Kevin Est, who, look what he did at Nürburgring, for example. He was just a class of the field.
But of course, the Spa 24 is also the site of Kevin Est's worst race at the seat of a Porsche.
This is very true. So this is a very solid car. Kris, anything to add? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Porsche's definitely a very good, strong car here. They obviously won last year, with some problems towards the end. But it's going to be interesting because I do really rate the terms of livery, KCMG, but obviously, and Kevin Estra with the Retronic racing car. Remember a couple of years ago when Kevin Estra kind of had a meltdown? He was kind of wrecking the car. He's gotten a lot better. He is not known for that, as you would hope. He's a very good, proper race car driver. That's most likely an off year. People like to make fun of him for that incident, but I remember he was kind of on the inside of the Kemmel Straight and kind of just tearing up the car. But that was years ago. Man, people change.
Now, just quickly, Kris, can I ask you, Rutronic Racing, that's not a team name I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so there used to be an Audi team, if I remember correctly, for ADAC GT Masters. We normally never see Rutronic in these quote-unquote international enduros. But they made the switch to Porsches either last year or this year. They made though they raced at the Nürburgring 24, they did semi-decent. So they're and also probably has a few ADAC GT wins under their belt. So Retronic, I always thought of them as like the lower tier, like kind of amateur team, but clearly that's not the case. They're coming out with these drivers like Sven Muller and Ricard Leitz.
Exactly. So it's a pretty impressive driver lineup for a team that I've never heard of before. So let's hope that they are able to perform like we expect from them, effectively.
Hey, it's what we said about Dynamic a couple of years ago, right?
This is true. This is true.
So we move on now to we've got 3 Porsches left. The number 22 is next, the GPX Martini Racing Porsche, based out of the UAE, with Matty Campbell, Matthew Jaminet, and Earl Matty Bamba.
This is the Cam Bam Jam car.
Yeah. Cam Bam Jam. Get it now from your local Coles.
So this is the team that's coming off winning the last endurance round, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so a team with proven success, a team with proven drivers. You've got Le Mans winner Earl Bamber in there. You've got Bathurst 12-hour champion Matt Campbell there. And again, one of the best up-and-coming young Porsche drivers in Matteo Jaminet, who basically broke the GTE AM class a few seasons ago in the Dempsey Proton number 77 car, and has actually been one to make the transition from being a super silver to an effective gold driver well. There's kind of a void of super silvers who become upgraded to gold and then just never go on to anything better. But Jaminet has been one of the few who's made that step and made it quite effectively. So they won the last round and they were about to win in Monza before the car broke down. So they have to be the favorites. They have to be the favorites, really.
And of course, Earl Bamber, along with Lawrence Stansford last year, won this race.
Yep. With Nick Tandy as well, I think.
Yes, it was. So this is patriotism, but this car is going to be right up there because Earl Bamber is just a driving god.
And Matt Campbell's just a driving god.
Yeah, and Matthew Jaminet is a driving leg god.
Oh my god, that's... Shut up, Kiwi. And the car looks gorgeous as well.
Oh, yes. Move on now to the last 2, the Dynamic Motorsport Duo. Number 54 with blah, blah, blah. The number 54 Dynamic Motorsport car with Matteo Cairoli, Klaus Bachler, Christian Engelhardt, 3 golds. And the 56 with Andrea Rizzoli, Mikael Pedersen, and Romain Dumas. There's a name to drop in from the heavens.
I'll let Kris take the lead on this one.
So I believe Matteo Caroli, Klaus Bachler, and Christian Engelhardt, those are your Monza winners. And I believe this 56 is the second car. That not full time, I don't believe. Maybe it is. Andrea Rizzoli most likely came from the Italian GT ranks because Dynamic has a very strong hold in at least Porsche Carrera Cup Italia. They're definitely very big in that championship. Romain Dumas, no need for him. No need to introduce him. You know, Pike, I believe he still holds the Pikes Peak Hill Climb record with the Volkswagen. And Mikael Pedersen from Denmark. It's not really often you see a Danish driver in a Porsche. How about that?
I mean, don't we also Danish? He's not driving a Porsche at the moment, but he definitely did drive a Porsche. Remember when you forgot his entire existence in a Nürburgring 24-hour podcast that we did a few years ago, Kris?
Well, apparently I still do.
Yeah, so Pedersen is a very young driver who's just he's just come out of karting, if driver DB is going to be kind to me. Where did I have it? So just come out of karting, has done did Silver Cup for Porsche last year, got a podium with Dynamic, and has raced the endurance rounds so far this year. So someone for the future, perhaps. Someone maybe who could spend time in Porsche Super Cup if he wanted to propel his career. But really, if you're a Dynamic Motorsport fan, you've got to be looking at the number 54 car. But I think there are, just better Porsches than the number 54 car, despite them having taken a win already.
Yep. I agree with that. And the 56, all the young guys in Romain Dumas,
Yeah. That's a development car. We've seen Porsche do this a few times. It's a car that you get a few young guys in with a very experienced head to show them how to be professional race car drivers effectively.
Okay, so we've got our Pro Cup class. First of all, actually, I want you to pick your Porsche podium potentials.
Perfect. How many do I get to choose?
Give me two.
GPX and KCMG, 22 and 47.
Hitting off the 21.
Yeah.
Killing off the best driver the best, most informed driver at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's motorsport's a team sport. Yo. What about you, Kris? Back me up. Here, help me.
I'm gonna go with the 54 and the GPX. I think those are gonna be your guys that are gonna be up at the pointy top of this table here at the Spa 24.
So both of us are skirting Estra. Fantastic.
Well, I was going to say the Retronic and GPX, so 21, 22. But then living off this KCMG car just feels wrong.
It's a triple platinum. How can you leave that off?
I know, right?
Right.
Oh, you reckon that was hard. Now I'm going to ask you for an overall top 5.
Oh, a top 5. We only get 5?
Look, it's like a box trifecta. Pick 5.
I have a list of 7. You asking me to get rid of 2?
Yes. Why do you do that, Kris? You go.
Well, okay, so number 88.
That's the AKA ASP card, Marciano Junior de Lagunon.
22.
GPX Martin.
I believe the 54 would be somewhere in that conversation.
Dynamic indeed.
At least be 2 more. I'm gonna go with the 32.
32, the Audi Sport Vanderland Charlie Verts. Yep.
And I'm gonna do a dark horse pick. I'm gonna go with the 63 and hoping that the Lambo curse will be broken.
We'll see about that. Michael, have you got your 7 down to 5?
I've got it down to 6.
Okay, fine, we'll compromise.
Okay, we'll compromise. Okay, so I'll go from the top. So I wanted to choose 2 Audis, but I ended up going with 1. I went with the number 32 Dries Vanthoor, Kelvin van der Linde, and Charles Verts car. And I really wanted to pick the 25, but we'll leave that one there. I'm surprised that Kris just completely left Ferrari alone. I think the 51 Iron Lynx is going to be up there. Alessandro Piaguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, and Colm Ledergar.
But you forgot it's the very most important factor that I played into making my picks. It's Ferrari in a GT3 race. A big GT3 race.
Oh, they can win. They've won big GT3 races before. They don't always go up in flames. I'm still not feeling bad about the 2016 Paul Ricard 1,000 kilometer. And then my other 3 picks, I've gone for the number 50 Hub Auto Mercedes. So not the number 88 Acura ASP. I've gone for the Maxi Yelmer Berman car, Gert Zug. And then, true to form, I've gone with 2 Porsches. I've gone with the GPX Martini Cam Jam Bam car and the number 47 KCMG Maxime Martin, Loris Vanthoor, and Nick Tandy. And because I couldn't leave them off the list, my dark horse, my sort of underdog pick is the number 38, the Yoda Sport McLaren. I think Ben Barnicoat, Oliver Wilkinson, and Rob Bell are going to surprise some people.
I don't disagree with that. I'm not picking a top 5 because I'm hosting. I have that right. So.
Oh, you dog! You absolute dog.
No, we're pressed for time. It'll take me too long to think. We better move on to our Pro-Am Cup now.
You're the worst.
So, as we talked about earlier, obviously 4 classes of car in this race, separated by drivers. So Pro-Am Cup, nice to have 2 bronzes. There's 14 cars in this entry, and each car can have up to 4 drivers per car. So we'll fly through these relatively quickly. We have 1 Aston Martin, again from Garage 59, the traditional 188, with Charlie Eastwood, Alexander West, Chris Goodwin, and Johnny Adam. Johnny Adam's a great addition to that car.
He is. And Charlie Eastwood as well. Again, another young AMR driver coming up through the ranks. So Garage 59 is the Alexander West love child, basically. It's his team. It's his operation, and this is his traditional car, really. So expect him to be very, very good in that machine. I think straight off the bat, this is going to be one of the cars to watch in this class.
Always strong in Pro-Am Cup is the 59 Garage 59. Always.
Just hang on once. Chris Goodwin, is that the host of Top Gear? Or is that... No, this is a different guy I'm thinking of. Don't worry, we'll cut that out in post. Is that Chris Goodwin?
I know what you're referring to. Bald guy.
The one that did the Holy Trinity before the Holy Trinity. Chris Harris, that's his name.
Chris Harris.
Sorry, don't mind me. We'll just cut that out in post.
Oh, so not the bald Chris Harris who know how to play cricket. Okay.
No, the other bald Chris Harris.
All right, moving on. Look, we know that's going to be a strong car.
Absolutely.
Next car from BMW, the number 10 Boots & Guinan machine. So this will be the art car, has been historically. I think they're doing it again.
Ooh, I need to look that up.
Yeah, if you can confirm that. 4 drivers in this car: Jan Zimmer, Karim OJ, Jens Lieberhauser, and Jens Klingsman.
So Jens Klingsman should be a name familiar to anyone who's watched GT3 racing over the past few years. Karim OJ, again, another name that should be familiar. Shed some light on Jan Zimmer and Jens Lieberhauser, if you could, please, Kris.
Well, as to see that Jan Zimmer, not to be confused with the famous the movie,
Composer.
It shows him that he is a silver. So if that's the case, good pickup from this team. I actually never even heard of this guy before. He either must race full time. Okay, so I think he raced in the Alpine Elf Europa Cup, which is a single spec series for the Alpine GT4 cars. So that'll explain his silver status, because he'll have at least some racing experience. For the Jens Liebhauser from Germany, the bronze, I don't know where he came from. Maybe from some single make series in the region. But as far as I'm concerned, I do not have any information about him at this time. But, okay, got some information. 2020 International GT Open AM class champion. And he raced a bunch in Ferrari Challenge, which is why I never even heard of him.
There you go. And just to cover off, Kris, you are right. This is the BMW art car. It is going to be purple and green and blue and yellow and look like something out of an Austin Powers fever dream.
Well, just what we want. It keep us awake at 2 a.m.
Oh, my favorite. Here, I'm just going to post this in the live chat for people to have a look at, because it's kind of terrifying. Oh, wait, no, this was from last year. Are they doing it again this year?
Yeah, this year they've been racing all season with the Michael Valiante tribute, basically.
Ah, yes, here we are. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll chuck that in. So ignore the description I gave for last year. This is the car that we're talking about. It is gonna be cool. There we are.
Yep. Gonna be cool.
So big, bold, red, white, and blue. So keep your eyes out for that one.
Indeed. All right, we'll move on now. We have 4 Ferraris in the Pro-Am class. The number 11 from Kessel Racing, David Fuminelli, Tim Coman, Francesco Zollo, and Giorgio Roda. Giorgio Roda is a name that we all know. David Fuminelli is a name we know. The other 2, not sure of.
Yeah, so Giorgio Roda and David Fuminelli, or Giorgio Roda has raced in GTM in the past, or GTE in the ELMS, with his father, Gianluca Roda. Is that the right way around? I'm not sure.
I believe so.
And then David Fuminelli is someone who's been racing with Kessel Racing for a long time in ACO competition as well. Tim Coman and Francesco Zollo.
Judging by with them as Kessel Racing, they might have Ferrari Challenge ties, because Kessel Racing are very involved in that championship.
That seems like an intelligent guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next Ferrari. So we have these two Pro-Am cars from AF Corsa. The 52 with Lorenzo Bontempelli, Louis Machiel, Andrea Bertolini, and James Collado. What the hell?
Whoa.
And the 53 with Reno Mastronardi, Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin, and Miguel Molina. Again, what the hell?
That's like 3 of the 4. Two out of the 4 GT Pro Ferrari drivers, and James Collado and Miguel Molina. But then also Andrea Bertolini. That's what? What?
That's cheating.
Basically,
that is just legalized cheating.
And we've seen Ferrari do this very recently. They've done this in the ELMS, where they've got Miguel Molina and James Collado running in the ELMS GTE cars, which is kind of messed up. Bontempelli and Machiels, I'm not too sure of, but the 53 car, that would be a very familiar car to people who have been watching British GT established pairing. And Reno Mastronardi, that's a name I am 100% familiar with, and I perhaps...
You might be right. ELMS, potentially?
Potentially. I'm trying to... that's certainly a name I've seen in ACO spec competition prior, so... That's immediately that's setting alarm bells off. Yes, Iron Lynx raced last year at Le Mans with Matteo Cressone and Andrea Piccini in the number 75 car. They finished the race, but still a very respectable bronze driver.
And the last Ferrari there from Sky Tempesta Racing. 3 drivers named so far, I believe 1 still to come. Chris Froggatt, Jonathan Hui, and Eddie Cheever III. These drivers are all very much...
plus 500 winner Eddie Cheever.
Mm-hmm. And these 3 drivers are known quantities.
Her grandson.
Yeah, they need a Ferrari factory driver to get dropped into that team to make them competitive.
Agreed. Especially when you look at the 52 and 53.
I mean, Daniel Serra's not doing anything that weekend.
True. He could be a seriously good pick.
He definitely could be.
You said Daniel Serra?
Don't ruin my dreams, Kris.
We'll have to check the Stock Car Brazil Championship schedule because he races full time in that too.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Jesus.
There you go.
All right. Well, moving on now, we have 2 Lamborghinis in the Pro-Am field. Excuse me. One from Orange One Triple F Racing, Phil Keane, Bertrand Baguette, Stefano Costantini, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Japanese driver there, and I pronounce that name perfectly.
That is a weird mix of drivers in that car.
It is. Well, I'm guessing Bertrand Baguette and Hiroshi Hamaguchi come from GT300?
Bertrand Baguette. Right, I don't know if this is current, but he used to or still races with Honda in the GT500 category in Super GT. Hamaguchi, very well a possibility from GT300. I think I've seen his name thrown around when GT World Challenge Asia was his thing. Hopefully will still be a thing. We'll find out later. But yeah, and normally you would think a guy like Phil Keane would be in a team like Barwell because that's where I thought I've seen him all the time. So interesting.
Yeah, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, he actually won remember when Japan won the Motorsport Games in 2019?
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, he was one of the drivers.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, right.
So that's a Did they swept the weekend as well, right?
Sorry?
Didn't they sweep the weekend?
They did. Although this race 2 was a bit of a cluster, but anyway.
Wasn't that when the Grove pairing ended up 3rd in that race or something mental like that?
Yeah, hence why I said it was a bit of a cluster.
Yeah, well, you know, if the Grove... No, that's mean to the Groves. They're adequate AM driver-ish things. I don't know.
Yeah. So and I think this will be an adequate team. I expect them to do well. I just don't know whether the quality of those Ferraris, for example.
Yeah.
Yep. The next Lamborghini, the number 77, you mentioned this before, Barwell Motorsport, Sandy Mitchell, Leo Machitsky, Miguel Ramos, and Henrik Chavez.
I am no help here. Help, Kris.
Sandy Mitchell and Leo Machitsky are believed the British GT duo that race full time in that championship, so they'll get much experience over the 2-hour feature race for the British GT Championship the week before. Miguel Ramos, though I've only really seen him in the International GT Open. I believe Barwell also races in that, and then Henrique Chavez might also be the pairing for Miguel Ramos in that championship. I can get confirmation, but as far as I'm aware, the duo from British GT and the duo from International GT Open make up this lineup.
Excellent. So a solid lineup, I think, but not great. So we have one McLaren in this field from Inception Racing, Kevin Masden, Ollie Milroy, Jordan Pepper, and Brendan Iribe. Or Iribe? Iribe, yeah.
That's
pretty amateurish lineup with Jordan Pepper sprinkled in.
So I believe... No, was Inception Racing the team that was racing the McLaren in the Asian Le Mans series?
Sounds about right.
So they won a invite to Le Mans, mostly off the back of Ben Barnicoat, let's be real here. But still, they must have done something right in that. And also, Jordan Pepper is definitely a driver to watch. A refugee from the Bentley program, a pretty good pickup. I want to say I'm into it, but I just don't know outside of Jordan Pepper where the quality come from. Oliver Milroy is a bit of a slow bronze, and not really any other big name to carry that team.
Yeah, isn't Ollie Milroy also like 12?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Surely he's older than 12. Surely he's at least 13.
And not to mention that this team races in GT World Challenge America and GT America, with Ollie Milroy and Brendan Iribe, however you pronounce that last name. That's the pairing for the GT World Challenge America races. I believe probably Pro-Am. I don't think they got a single win class-wise. But in GT America, now GT America is the race where I believe amateurs go at it for a 40-minute race, no driver changes, and Brendan's in that car, and they have won at least 1 or 2 races in that championship. Keep in mind, there's only like 5 other GT3 cars, and it's old people or very young drivers, and then the rest are GT4s or GT2s if they decide to enter. So interesting. How should I say this? Of where they're coming from in the year 2021, coming from the States, from their racing and coming to Spa.
Yeah. We'll move on now. We have 3 Mercedes in this field. The number 2 Get Speed Mercedes with Jim Pla, Nico Bastian, Olivier Grotz, and Florian Schultz. Nico Bastian's the standard on that lineup for sure.
Absolutely. He's gonna be the one that's gonna carry that team. If they can be carried.
Yep. Then we have the number 20 SPS Automotive Performance Machine, Colin Braun, George Kurtz, Valentin Pierberg, and Dominic Baumann. Similar situation. He'll be carrying that team for sure.
And it's good to see Colin Braun driving something
Former
again.
NASCAR driver Colin Braun.
Yeah, former Core Autosport second place in the DP prototype category in 2017, Colin Braun.
It's nice to see him race in something that's not GT World Challenge America, because I believe he does do that full time with might be George Kurtz, who is the owner or CEO of CrowdStrike. So he's the money man. And then you have Valentin Pierberg, which I believe is a International GT Open driver, some class wins to his name. And obviously Dominic Baumann, kind of the lesser known Mercedes guy that always races Mercedes. Like everyone knows Mauro Rengel and Lucas Stoltz, but Dominic Baumann is kind of one of the lesser guys he's always in a Mercedes, and he always seems to be doing pretty decent.
He's kind of like the Patrick Long or someone along those lines for Mercedes, someone who gets is the factory guy that they give to the amateur teams who want a factory guy to help run their team, basically.
Yeah. And then we get on to the Mercedes, which I think is the best of the 3. The number 69 Ram Racing, Ricky Collard, Rob Collard, Sam DeHaan, Fabian Schiller.
I like
Yes.
I like seeing
So I
Fabian
believe
Schiller in that
this is a
car.
father-son. Yeah, I believe this is the father-son pairing between the Collards. I'm gonna try not to butcher this. I believe Rob Collard is the one that's in the British Touring Car Championship, and Ricky Collard is doing the GTs full time. I think that's how it goes. If not, it's the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then Fabian Schiller, I believe he raced with the Gitsby team for the NLS at Nürburgring 24 in previous years. And then Sam DeHaan, I want to say British GT. Might did some GT4 stuff, but I do recognize that name with the Mercedes.
Isn't Fabian Schiller currently driving a P2 car in some world championship that I'm trying to remember? Is he driving? Is he driving for WRT in the World Endurance Championship, or am I just completely pulling that out of my bum?
Is that
pull many things out of
your bum? Kubica, or is it a different driver line from ELMS?
It is an entirely different driver lineup.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure it is Fabian Schiller. I'm just going to double check. Team WIT. It's not Fabian Schiller. I messed that up. Where have I seen his name before? He's in. No, it's Fabio Schiller who's driving for United, not Fabian Schiller. How could I have made such a glaring mistake?
Fabian Schiller came third in LMP2 at Daytona.
Oh, there you go.
And he drove at Nürburgring. And he's driven at Paul Ricard this year as well. So, and he came fourth in casting too. So, very solid. Now we get down to we've got two Porsches to round out the entry list. Both very intriguing cars to me. You got the 61 Earl Bamber Motorsport Giga Racing Machine with Adrian De Silva from Malaysia, Reid Harker from New Zealand, Will Bamber, brother of Earl from New Zealand, and Carlos Rivas from Luxembourg. This is a very interesting car with names that people probably don't know.
I know Will. I've seen Will race before. He's very good. Takes after his younger brother.
Yeah, he's taken a seat back from most motorsport now to actually run Earl Bamber Motorsport. Good to see him actually back behind the wheel. I want to see a race where Will and Earl share a car.
I remember, did the pair of them share a 911 Cup car at the Bathurst 12 Hour like 5 years ago? Or was
maybe
Will driving that car and Earl was driving a different car? It may have even been the Grove Racing car that one of them was driving.
May have been. But the other drivers here, Kris, do you have any idea about any of these guys?
So, I think Reid Harker races domestically in the North Island Endurance Series. I want to say I've seen his name. Has done.
He's also raced in Kura Cup Asia as well.
Right, that's also where I've seen him. And Will Bamber, obviously, another name to that list. But I believe Carlos Rivas, I want to say he races in Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. I believe that's where I've heard his name thrown around a little bit. But hey, Adrian Henry De Silva, I never heard of that guy before.
He races for EBM in Kura Cup Asia as well.
Okay, so this is kind of like the Carrera Cup squad.
Basically, yeah. I'm guessing this is Earl Bamber Motorsport going, right, we've got nothing to do for this time of year. We missed Bathurst. Let's go have a crack at Spa.
Yeah, I mean, why the hell not, right?
Exactly. And I think it's a good move. And I think this team is actually going to be based out of Australia or New Zealand in the near future. I heard rumours that he was going to take it out of Malaysia. Well, so we'll claim some claims for patriotism there.
Are they also running? Well, I know that they're definitely running a pair of 911 Cup cars in the Australian Carrera Cup Championship. One for Matt Pace and another for a female driver whose name escapes me. I think her name is.
Does she do a lot of waltzing?
I mean, I wish. Let's have a look. So it is Matthew Payne. I got close. Matthew Payne, who did very well in Townsville very recently for the last round of the Carrera Cup Championship. And then I'm trying to remember the... this is all extra fluff that can definitely be cut out of the podcast later.
Absolutely. Either way, we know this car is going to be not up the front, but it's going to be cool to just watch them go around. I want to talk about the 911, though, the Herbeth Motorsport Porsche, because this car, Alfred Renauer, Robert Renauer, Antarasau, and Daniel Ellman.
It's
Herbeth Motorsport are always thereabouts.
It's our favourite German AM team.
Sitting up to Pro-Am, because I have to, because Robert Renauer's a gold.
Bloody right. No, this is good fun. I love seeing the Renauers out on track. They are great racers in their own right, and Robert actually has quite a bit of skill behind him, which is kind of nice. Antares Al is a name I remember, I think, from KCMG in recent times. And then Daniel Ellerman, I have no idea about.
Yeah, Antares Al, he's listed as a UK driver on my list for some reason, but I'm pretty sure he's from Hong Kong.
Yes. Just a quick aside, what did I say the female driver's name was for Earl Bamber?
Matilda something?
Oh, I got close. It's Madeline. It's Madeline Stewart. So I got close.
Ah, yes. Yes, of course. And Antares Al, he brings the money to the team.
Is it not the Renauers that bring the money to the team?
Oh, he brings money to the team as well. He's the vice president of Lehman Brothers Asia. And Daniel Ellerman, Kris, you got any idea on him?
Yeah, and Herbert obviously very dominant and Creventic. That's their kind of style. They don't really see much other success outside of that, apart from GT Masters. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare in the Pro-Am Cup.
For sure. I don't think they're the quality of some of the other driver lineups. So I want you guys to pick me your top three. Obviously, the two Ferraris are going to be strong. The AF Corsa. Who else have you got?
So I'll go first with this one if you don't mind, Kris. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go 53. The Miguel Molina, Duncan Cameron, Reno Mastronardi, Matt Griffin. All those guys have ACO racing experience, so that's going to be a step up from regional GT racing, essentially. I've also chucked in the number 188, the Garage 59 car, Charlie Eastwood and Johnny Adam carrying along Chris Goodwin and Alex West. I think having a platinum drive is going to be a good in that respect. I kind of want to say the number 52, but I'm nervous about bronze drivers that I know nothing about, so I'm going to avoid them for the moment and go for number... let's be patriotic. Number 61, EBM Giga Racing Team. Why not?
Why not indeed? Even though it has no connection to Australia. But,
well, Adrian Henry de Silva is racing under an Australian license, so that counts.
That counts.
And you're just lucky we don't annex you already.
Kris, before I slap blood around the head, your picks?
Okay. I want to say I'm going to go with the number... this is tough. Number 53. We go with number 20. Then I'm gonna go with the this is tougher than I thought. Let's go with the 188.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, so why are you two thinking alike?
Oof. Ouch.
All right.
Yikes.
So I'm just looking at the time. We've been going for nearly 2 hours, so we've got 2 classes to go through. We better fly through these. We have a 17 car Silver Cup class, which is a crazy class in its own right. We've got one Aston Martin again from Garage 59, spreading themselves really thin. Well, not really thin, but spreading themselves throughout all the classes. Valentin Hasselklot is the name that sticks out from this car, as well as Alex McDowell and, Nikolai Kjaergaard.
I'm pretty sure you don't pronounce the J there. I'm pretty sure it's Kjaergaard.
Kjaergaard. I don't build Lego. I'm not Danish.
That's not even the... Alex Medell and Valentin Hasselklot are names that I recognise. So that's probably from running Garage 59 Aston Martins.
Yes.
And Valentin has a club, I believe, also races French GT.
There you go.
Okay. Then we have a four-car armada from Audi, the number 27 Santa Lock Racing, with 2 drivers so far, Alexandra Cognard and Aurelien Panis, son of Olivier.
Oh,
There's a
that's
driver
cute.
still to be named there.
Now, is Alexander Cognard, is that the same? No, that's Cogny, not Cognard. How could I make such a devastating mistake? I was about to ask if that was the same guy as the cool racing guy, but apparently not.
No, definitely not. Then we have 2 Audis from Team WRT, the number 30 with James Paul, Stuart Hall and Benjamin Gotha, the Monegasque driver. And the 31 with Richiuro Tomita. No, murdered that name.
Rurichiro
Tomita.
There we
Frank
go.
Bird and Valdemar Eriksson. And the number 99, Attempto Racing. 3 drivers so far, Fabian Laverne, Alex Acker and Max Hoffer.
So you might notice if you're listening that we haven't really been saying too much because all of these names are kind of new and scary to us. And the reason for that is the Silver Cup is basically the development class. The idea being that you don't have any platinums, you have a basically a glut of silver drivers, which means for a lot of them it's either up and coming young drivers who haven't achieved a pro ranking yet, or experienced amateur drivers who want to race without professionals. It's generally more of the former, truth be told. So, for example, out of those 3 Audi drivers, I recognize Fabian Laverne and Stuart Hall, and probably from them running Silver Cup for a bunch of years.
Yeah. So we'll go through this, and if we pull out names, we'll see. We'll stop and chat. The next car is actually the only Bentley in the race, I believe. The 107 CMR machine, with Nelson Pantiatici, Stuart White, and Gilles Vanillay.
That is a weird card to have Nelson Pantiatici in.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead, sorry.
He's one of the only gold drivers in this class as well.
Yeah, and he's a very established gold driver as well. He's someone who's raced in Alpine in the past, raced at Le Mans in the LMP2 category, and has a lot of experience and clout behind him. So, yeah, weird car.
It's just weird to me to see Bentley with the one car this year after we've seen them dominate for so long. Or not dominate, but seen them an ever-present force for so long.
Well, remember, they've closed their GT3 program entirely now.
True, this is true. Sad face. We have 1 Ferrari in this field from Rinaldi Racing. Of course, Rinaldi have a Silver Cup car. Fabrizio Cristani, David Perel, and Benja Hites, Italian.
I believe he's actually Chilean, but racing under an Italian license.
Huh. There you go. David Perel is a name that you would recognize if you've watched GT3 racing before. That's all I have.
Yep. We've got 3 Lambos in this field. The 14 from Emil Frey Racing, those guys again. Alex Fontana, Rolf Iniken, Ricardo Fella. There's
names I know.
There they are.
I know those guys.
You know those guys. Ever present in this Emil Frey Racing team, especially Rolf Iniken. And he's incredibly solid for a silver.
All of them, in fact, are incredibly solid for silver drivers.
And as we talked about before, Ricardo Fella has had a pretty good season so far. So what's he doing in the Silver Cup?
Maybe he thinks it's a better chance for a class victory running the Silver Cup.
Maybe. But yeah, so that's a car definitely to watch. Then we move on to the 16 Grasso Racing Team machine. Alberto Maria de Falco, Clem Schmidt, Tim Zimmerman, and Kiko Galbiati.
Tim Zimmerman, I believe, races the GRT for the IMSA program.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Clem Schmidt, we know he's good.
Yeah, so Clement Schmidt is one of those drivers. Remember how I talked about Matteo Jaminet as a driver who made the transition from a Super Silver to a good gold driver very well? Mm-hmm. Clement Schmidt is kind of an example of one that didn't make that transition all that smoothly. So he was a silver driver racing for HRT, HTP. So running alongside Maxi Book, I think, in the Blank Pan Endurance Series, and the Blank Pan Sprint Series. This is back 3 or 4 seasons ago, and then since then hasn't really kicked on to be a full professional since he's been upgraded to gold. So very, very, very skilled driver, but there's an additional wealth of responsibilities that comes with being a gold driver, like having the lion's share of the driving time and having to be the one really putting the setup together and qualifying. So it's one of those things that some people driving the car is one skill, and then doing everything else about being a pro driver is another skill entirely. And so Clement Schmidt hasn't been the one to make that transition smoothly, but it's good to see him driving in something competitive, hopefully. For sure.
Now, the last Lamborghini from the Silver Cup class is a team I don't recognise, the 666 VS Racing. Glenn Van Berlo, Baptiste Moulin, Yuki Nemoto, and Martin Rump. Kris, do you know anything about these drivers or this car?
I believe Yuki Nemoto was he also with the Team Japan in the World Cup?
He may have been.
I know VS Racing. I believe this team used to race in the Asian Le Mans Series Championship a couple years ago. I believe Martin Rump. Now this is dating myself. He used to race in the Formula Masters China
How
Series.
Are you dating yourself? You're the youngest one here by a not insignificant margin, by half a decade.
You maniac.
I'm 21. I'm getting old.
Oh, Christ.
I started this podcast when I was 21, Kris. That's how long ago it's been.
I have food in my fridge that's older than you.
Well,
Wow.
That's an Oceania years.
Oceania. Shut up, Kris.
All right. I'm moving on before this gets crazy. So, yeah. VS Racing. We'll see. We have a fleet of Mercedes, 6 of them. HRT helped racing team with their 4 stellar drivers, Indy Donche, Hubert Haupt, Patrick Assenheimer, Michele Beretta.
More drivers that we know.
Yeah. To me, that's the class of this lineup.
It's pretty close. I don't want to say it's quite the class of this lineup, but it's pretty close. It's certainly going to be one in the top 3 of the race come the end for Silver Cup, provided nothing untoward happens. Because all 4 of those drivers are known quantities and long-time GT3 runners. So this is remember how I said it was like a combination of older drivers who are experienced amateurs and then young up-and-coming, not yet professionals? This is the first category, the older, very experienced drivers.
Yep. Then we come to the number 7 Talksport WRT, so we're linking with W Racing Team. Berkeley Bessler, Oscar Tunja, Paul Petit, and Marvin Deinst.
That is a name I not heard for a little while.
Yeah, good to see him back.
Yeah, so Marvin Deinst is a driver who raced in a Porsche in the GTM ranks for Dempsey Proton Racing 3 seasons ago, 2018, if I recall correctly. Was quick, but not incredibly quick. Was kind of overshadowed by both Julian Andlauer and Matteo Cairoli that season, if I remember. Yeah.
Then we come to the 40 SBS Automotive Mercedes with Lance David Arnold, Yannick Mettler, Michaela Spawn, and Jordan Love. There's a name we know, folks.
Yeah. Used to Jordan Love, Porsche Career Cup Australia champion, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Tried to climb. Obviously, Porsche, they find probably not enough room in the Porsche camp, so he decided to join Mercedes.
I mean, Earl Bamber, Jordan Love, who are you going to pick?
Oh, when you put it like that, I'm going to pick... Yeah, Earl Bamber.
Well, yeah. Good to see him get a gig, though. It's been really sticking at this European sojourn, so I hope he can make something of it, because he's this very solid driver. And we have a lot of Career Cup Australia drivers that progress up the ranks and then make it big in Europe. He hasn't done it yet, but I'm hoping it's a matter of time.
Yeah, fingers, arms, legs, toes, and eyes crossed.
Indeed. The 57 Winwood racing car has 3 drivers so far, none of whom I know: Russell Ward, Michael Grenier, and Philip Ellis. Then we get to the 87 ACA ASP: Simon Gachet, Konstantin Terashenko, and Thomas Drouet.
So I believe those three drivers would be recognizable from LMP3 competition, either in Michelin Le Mans Cup or in European Le Mans Series.
I think
I'm just going to say that's
Midfield
right.
57. I believe that's IMSA guys. Russell Ward.
We've already skipped to the 87.
Oh, Konstantin Tereshchenko used to race Euroformula Open, dominated that championship, tried to go to GP3, became known as the guy who literally launched in the air at the bus stop at Spa. That was him. And he made the switch to sports cars probably the year after that. But he's been in the Mercedes Pro-Am, I believe. He's been full-time in the World Challenge. So, and that's where he's been. The other two guys, I believe Simon might be, since this is an ACA car, French GT, ACA ASP, very involved in that championship, and maybe for Thomas Durow as well.
Okay. And then we get down to the last Mercedes, the best team name in motorsport, Mad Panda Motorsport.
Yuck.
What?
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Ricardo Sanchez, Ezekiel Perez, Patrick Kujalia.
Oh my god, it's Patrick Kujala. Have you never watched a blank paint or SRO race?
Not well sleep deprived.
Oh, blimey.
And Rick Breukers. That is one solid lineup of impronounceable names.
And that's a very well established, very well known team. Yeah. So all of these drivers would be names that you would recognize if you've watched GT3 racing at length. Rick Breukers, of course, has a special connection with us here at Endurance Chat. It was his younger brother Luke who was the hookup or the link that allowed us to sponsor the Creventic 12 Hours of Brno in 2019. So the 2-year anniversary of that was only some months ago. So we have a special connection to the Breukers, and it's good to see Rick racing something competitive. Yeah, good team, good lineup. Good fun. Good car.
Yeah, indeed. Bad
and is this Ricardo Sanchez? Is he the one that raced the LMP2 a couple years back in WEC?
That was
that team?
Ricardo Gonzalez.
Okay.
Or was it Roberto Gonzalez? I'm pretty sure it was a Gonzalez, not a Sanchez.
Well, let me move to the one driver that I do know. Ezekiel Perez raced Lamborghinis for the longest time for those couple of years in the GT World Challenge and did quite well.
Yes.
And the last car on the Silver Cup list, the 222 Team Allied Racing Porsche, Bastien Bus, Lars Kern, and Julian Epitholes, with one more driver still to come there. Solid. Lars Kern, we know. Julian Epitholes, we know somewhat.
Do we?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I recognise that name.
I don't.
He's also a gold ranked driver, so he's got to be somewhat talented, right?
Oh boy. Okay.
And so, Kris, that one's probably not the quality of the others, I would say.
No, Lars Kern is probably, once again, a driver development kind of guy. Training, showing, obviously, we got a silver and a gold, so they're not completely new. But Team Allied Racing, I heard that team name before. I believe, I just don't know where it came from. But I wouldn't say it's going to be the strongest lineup.
Yeah, Julian Epitholes actually came third in 2019 at Spa in the TCR 500.
Huh. There you go.
So, there you go. So there's your 17-car lineup. Who's going to win it?
Oh, I was taking notes for other categories, but I forgot for this one. Let's just have a quick look. I think it's going to be a competition between the number 5 Haupt Racing Team car featuring Mr. Haupt and the number 90 Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. So I'm sticking very much in the Mercedes garage. Oh, and possibly Emil Frey. They're my 3 picks.
I was going to say Emil Frey, I think, are the top pick for me. But I'm not prepared to rule out Grasser Racing by any stretch.
Racing?
Yeah.
I guess. I'm surprised that you haven't looked harder at Mad Panther or HRT. I think they're the standout ones for me, just because they are all known quantities.
Yeah, they are standouts. That's why I'm not picking them, because I want to be different.
You are.
Yes.
What about you, Kris? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with another wild pick. I'm gonna go with last year's Am Cup champion CMR Bentley.
Ha! That is bold.
that is bold, underlined, and
Emphasized.
wow, very much emphasized. We have 3 cars left to talk about. The Am Cup. These 12 drivers. There's a couple there, the names that we know. There's a 36 from Walkenhorst Motorsport. The silver drivers there, Frederik van Bolen and Daniel Yont.
Donald Yont.
Donald Jump's not Daniel. Donald, can't read. It's too late in the morning. The number 23, Huber Motorsport Porsche.
And hang on, you just completely skipped over Mr. Walkenhorst himself in that number 36 car.
I was going to do that in a second.
Oh, whatever.
Yes, the number 23, Huber Motorsport Porsche. The silver drivers there, Jacob Schell and Nico Menzel. And then the 166, now this is going to trip me up. Hagiali by T2 Racing.
I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah, Mark Bassing's your silver driver there. So the 12 drivers there, you mentioned there's obviously Henry Walkenhorst, Mr. Walkenhorst in the 36. Nico Menzel is a very solid silver in that 23 machine. And Mark Bassing is also very solid in the 166. So it's only 3 cars, but it's tough to pick a winner there, isn't it?
Yeah, and part of it is it's because it's such a small class. It is much more a variable in what can happen. A lot more unknown quantities. Am drivers who are gonna make mistakes. It's very difficult to pick a winner in this class.
Let's see. All 3 of these teams I have competed in the 24 Hours of Nürburgring just about 2 months prior, month and a half prior. Hubert Motorsport didn't do too bad, if I remember correctly. Obviously, Valkenhorst, obviously an everlasting presence. And then T2 Racing, I'm not sure how well they did. Probably middle of the pack towards the back. But what catches my eye is Dennis Busch in the 166. If I'm thinking, because there's a different type of Busch brothers in Germany, and whenever there's a Busch brother racing in a car, they normally have a very bright yellow and blue sort of chromish livery with the Busch, not the Busch beer, but a different Busch company logo in a white circle on the side. So it's going to be interesting to see what that livery looks like come race week.
I'm not going to even try to pick a winner there. It's going to come down to who makes the least mistakes. So I reckon the 36, Henry Walkenhorst, is probably... But also Nick and... I don't know. Anyway, I'll stop talking crap about anyone. Pick a random generator, and there you go. So that's our 58-car grid. This race is always a highlight of the year for me. I can't wait to watch it. Track action actually starts on Tuesday this year with the bronze test, so quite early in the week. Then we have practice qualifying, night qualifying, and then Kris, we have a shootout as well, don't we?
Yes, I believe the top 20 cars will advance from regular qualifying. I believe regular qualifying falls on that either late Thursday or Friday, early Friday, and then the shootout is the finale of the day after the support races go on through, which I believe the support races this year, definitely GT4 European Series, TCR Europe, Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, and there might be 1 or 2 more. I'm forgetting, of course, the Stefan Vettel famous press conference on the Friday. I would assume that's still going to be a thing where they announce all their plans and ideals of what they want to do for the upcoming years. And normally we get some very big announcements for that, and we'll see how that goes.
And the best thing about this weekend, there'll be fans in attendance.
Well, I hope so. I hope the floods don't mean that there's infrastructure damage that won't allow fans there. But that's really, really good. Really, really cool to see that they're allowing some people in to watch some racing in person. It's good. It's good that this is happening again, especially on the other side of the world when we're in friggin' lockdown.
Yeah. As I understand, they're operating in 3 bubbles, so you can either go to the La Source Eau Rouge bubble, Eau Rouge Le Combe bubble, or Le Combe Double Gouch bubble, and you can't move from there. So you have to pick where you want to race from.
That's nice. That's
nice.
a smart way of doing things.
Yeah. So it'd be a good rate to have fans back. If you're going, make sure you get a PCR test and test negative before you do go, because they actually require that on entry.
There you go.
Yeah. So and the race time actually starts 4:30 p.m. local on Saturday, the 31st of July. Head to the IGTC website for information about times in your area, because you can do that, or you can download the Racing Line app and get that for you for much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting thing about this race, which I don't think applies to many other races around the world, is that you do need a perfect race to win at Spa 24, because there are just too many good teams. You can't just luck your way into a good position. You really do need to run a flawless race, because if you don't, someone else will.
For sure. And there's so many variables at this track, and like you said before, if you're going to go lap down your stuff, so you have to be. We've said it many times. It's a 24-hour sprint race.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is the epitome of the 24-hour sprint race.
Oh, for sure. And I can't wait to get the action started.
Hell yeah!
So, with that in mind, make sure you get onto the Racing Line app. Make sure you do your fantasy WEC. Make sure you get into the Discord. Make sure you get on the scratch pad. We'll have that set up again. Make sure you behave yourselves. And Kris, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been great to have you along.
Yeah, no problem. It's been fun talking about another 24-hour race, and just to think, after Spa, we only have 2-week break, and that's Le Mans.
Oh my
race
god!
week.
Don't remind me. It's all happening so quickly.
Yeah. Enjoy watching the US lose to the Kiwis in the soccer.
Oh, fucking sod off.
Enjoy watching the US lose to the Australians in the soccer as well.
Oh, sod off. Time too.
And Michael, thank you very much as always for joining me. Thanks for making my first one back an enjoyable one.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming back. I thought we'd lost you to the ether, but thank you for coming back. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We will do a wrap-up of ACO Spec Racing at some point before Le Mans happens. I hope, fingers, arms, legs, toes, and eyes crossed. It is just all happening very, very quickly at the moment. And we will have our usual run-up to Le Mans with our entry list analysis and a little bit of a different introductory podcast this year, but we'll get to that when that comes.
Indeed we will. Until then, we'll catch you next time. I'm Kris Riddell. Peace out.
Kazoo! This feels weird.
I know, right?
All right, podcast over. Security, can we get this Kiwi guy out of here?